Okay, rational equations. So you have three rational expressions, and you can see what they are. X over x minus 3 plus x over x plus 3 equals 2 over x to the second power minus 9. Now we have to solve for the x variable. Now that there's 3, including this addition sign, we're not going to be able to apply the a, b, c, d. Okay, that's not going to work. So what you need to do is use the common denominator method, CD. Common denominator method, you line up you're going to extend out your lines. You're going to also write the plus and the equals. Just extend it. Now you got to decide if you need any parentheses on top. You don't need to factor the tops, but you do need to insert parentheses if you have addition or subtraction. So know that x, there's no addition, subtraction. No and no. So I just dropped these onto the line. Now the bottom, not only do you need to put parentheses, if you have parentheses, you got to ask yourself, can I factor it? So I need to put this in parentheses because of that minus sign. Okay, that's two terms. That needs a parentheses and that needs a parentheses. So we need to try to factor x minus 3. So there's two terms, okay? So two terms would be a GCF and dots. Okay, I'm not seeing the x, I'm not seeing a negative. 1 and 3 is 1, so we won't be doing the GCF. Now you have a minus, but 1 is just 1 times 1, okay? And then x to the sec, x doesn't have a, 1 is 1 times 1, but x doesn't have a power, okay? So that's a no. So we didn't do anything with that, it's prime, so you bring down x minus 3 in its parentheses. X plus 3, you're going to have the same situation, okay? The GCF will be 1 and it's not a DOPS. Now how about x to the second power minus 9? It's two terms, so GCF and DOPS. I think you're going to actually do something with this. Okay, so there's no x, there's no negative. 1 and 9 is 1. Okay. Now DOPS, you have the minus sign. 1 is 1 times 1. X to the second's x times x, and 9 is 3 times 3. Okay. So 1x, and then 3, 3. Take the 1s off the front of the x's, please. So this is rewritten as x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, now you can do your common denominator. Okay, so in the denominators I have the parentheses x minus 3. I have the parentheses x plus 3. And then x plus 3, x minus 3 again, so we don't repeat that. So how many x minus 3's does the first ratio have on the bottom, or the first expression have on bottom? 1. How many x minus 3's do we have on the second one? 0. How about the third one? 1. Okay, so everything needs 1. I just need to take that middle one and raise it by a factor of x minus 3. So times x minus 3 and times x minus 3. When you're bringing in a new parentheses like that, you put it behind. And then x plus 3. I have 0 here, 1 here, 1 here. So we need to make it so everyone has 1. So that first one is where we need to insert a factor of x plus 3 and in the numerator. Okay, now that the bottoms are the same in an equation, once all the bottoms are matching, you can just get rid of the bottoms. You don't need to keep dealing with those. Okay, so you write your equal sign, and then you're going to make a parentheses that represents the top of the first fraction, plus a parentheses that represents the top of the second, and then a parentheses for the top of the third. Okay, so x times x plus 3. Well, you take x times x and x times 3. You can put 1's in front if you want. 1x times 1x, 1x times 3. So that's going to be 1x to the second power and then 3x. So this is replaced with this. Over here we have 1x and then x minus 1x minus 3. So 1x times 1x times negative 3. So that's 1x to the second, and that's negative 3x. Okay, and over here you just got 2. I don't need to multiply anything, it's just a 2. So you line up your equals, and you're going to just put your 2 over there. That's all you got. You need to combine like terms here. So you have x second x, x second x. Okay, x second, I got 1 plus 1, that would be 2. And then the x is 3 plus negative 3, 0. So if you get 0, then the space cancels out. Now you have two answers to this because you have x to the second. But you don't have x with the x to the second. It's just x to the second only. So this is where you want to use linear properties, but then do the square root to cancel out the second. So divide by 2, and that's 1. X to the second equals 1. Then you square root 1, okay? Now that's even, so it could be positive or negative. Square root of 1 is 1, okay? So 1, negative 1. Okay, we have x over x plus 1 plus x over x minus 1 equals 2 over x to the second power minus 1. So you're using the common denominator method. So you don't need to insert any parentheses on top. You should not. Okay, there's no plus or minus on top of there. On top of there, no. So it's just going to be x, x, and 2. Now on bottom, since that has a plus, it needs parentheses. That has a minus, it needs parentheses, and that's got a minus, so it needs parentheses. Now we got to see if we can factor any of our bottoms. Look at that. Do you really think you can do the GCF DOPS with that? It's a binomial. It's 2 terms. I mean, the GCF's obviously just 1, and it's a plus sign, which is never a DOPS, so that one just stays the same. Now, x minus 1. Now, that's true, there is a minus, but GCF of 1. But 1 is 1 times 1. The x doesn't have a power, okay? So no. So that's also prime. Now, x to the second power minus 1. So 2 terms, so GCF and DOPS. Okay, so I'm not seeing the x, not seeing the negative. 1 is just 1. Now we do have a minus, okay? And now you have a DOPS because you got 1 times 1, x times x. You don't even really need to deal with the 1 in the front. You could just write x times x if it's 1. And then 1's 1 times 1. This 1 you got to write. So it's 1x, 1x, 1, 1. You can take the 1's off the front. And it's just x plus 1 times x minus 1. So we replace the x second minus 1 with x plus 1, x minus 1. Okay, common denominator. Well, you got a parentheses of x plus 1, a parentheses of x minus 1, x plus 1, x minus 1 again. So x plus 1, I got 1, 0, 1. So we need to make these so that they have 1, okay? So this middle one, you need to insert a factor of x plus 1, and also on top, remember, parentheses, put it behind it. Okay, x minus 1, I have 0, 1, 1. Okay, so where you have 0, you need to raise it by x minus 1. Okay, now that the bottoms all match, they can cancel. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take this is the top of the first ratio, okay? So 1x times 1x, 1x times negative 1. That'd be 1x second and negative 1x. Over here, it's going to be kind of the same thing, but now it's times positive 1. 1x second and positive 1x. And then that's just a 2. So equals, just put the 2 down. Now again, you have x to the second x, x to the second x. There's no constants on that side, so it's just x seconds and x's. So x second, 1 plus 1 is 2. And then negative 1 plus 1, 0 again, so that cancels. And ironically, it's the same situation as on the last problem. There's 2 answers. You have x to the second only, though. There's no x in there, okay? Because remember, I got rid of the x's, I added them, and it cancels. So I don't use factoring properties. I use linear properties to solve for the x second, and then a square root to get rid of the second power. So you're just going to divide by 2. So x to the second would equal 1. The square root of 1 is 1, but it could be positive or negative because that's an even root.